And you're seeing, in fact, a convergence. It's not so much convergence, it's more a domino effect, isn't it? That, you know, one technology suddenly enables another and another and another. No, they're not going to pop up. Never mind. We'll ask them, any questions from the audience here? Ah, there they are, Martha. Okay. So let's go back to that question we got asked before. How are the suggestions on improving transparency being addressed currently in the future? And actually, Philippe, where's Philippe? Here. Let's turn to you for the answer to that one.
That report, all of them were, I think, we acknowledged and recognized and thought they were very good. One of them around the transparency and governance was of particular interest, obviously, to the governing board of IMI, and we are addressing that in several ways. First of all, trying to get more synergy between the governing board, the scientific committee, and the states representative groups, because there we believe that there is a lot of value to be added in terms of getting that that triangle more connected. In terms of transparency, I think we have more meetings like this. That's part of transparency in terms of this is what we're doing. What do you think? Please give us your feedback. We try. I know one of the issues was for the timing of when we say we're going to now be working next year on this topic. We need to find ways of making sure that the community understands what kind of topics we're at least thinking about sooner rather than later, right? To give the community time, because we know it's complex. I saw there was another question around something about it was on the other list about the timing of what we do. Can IMI, accelerate the process, if you like? Because apparently some people think we're bureaucratic and slow. Anyway, so we do try and address that too. But anyway, the governing board is very interested in those recommendations. We follow them very closely. We have an action plan. And if you want to talk to me about that in more detail, I'm very happy to do so.
Thanks. What are the struggles? I mean, we talk about the 100,000 genomes. It took 5 years. I mean, the 100,000 genomes has now done about 90,000 genomes. But it's taken a long time to get that in. Tom, how quickly are you able to get your new technologies actually into use? Is that still an issue? In other words, the technology is changing very fast, but actually you're not able to get stuff in fast.
Well, there's part of it to do is proving the value of the technology. That takes time, and I think those translational mechanisms are accelerating. Our ability to do experiments more in the real world and less out of the laboratory are accelerating. I showed you this this qualification procedure for the 95th percentile stride velocity in Duchenne's. This is quite a long process, and this is the regulatory qualification process. And I think from end to end, you could say that's probably a 2-year process. And we think that could be shorter. I think that's a little bit of a challenge. And in Europe, as opposed to the United States, if you look at the regulation of devices and pharmaceuticals, they are still somewhat separate. Devices are regulated by notified bodies, pharmaceuticals by the EMA, and the opportunity to do things very early on in the process, such as have joint scientific advice. I mean, we can now have joint scientific advice with the EMA, with HTA agencies, but the notified bodies who are responsible for regulating novel devices are apparently prohibited from participating in early scientific advice. So we see there's still some hurdles which are more on the, I guess, on the regulatory side and on the take-up side. And obviously, there's challenges, I think, for all of us to demonstrate clinical efficacy and cost efficacy. I think we need to participate with, or work together with stakeholders to see this is done in an efficient way within the European ecosystem and beyond Europe.
Okay.
Viv, I think I would comment and take a step back slightly from a focus on the technology. If you looked at the 100,000 Genome Project, you could say the 100,000 genomes, the genomes bit was relatively straightforward. The bit that was challenging was the collection of the phenotype, the clinical data, and the integration at scale of that into the system. And I think sometimes we can become overly focused on the technology or the leading edge technology and actually fail to recognize the challenges around integrating, in some cases, long history of patient data that doesn't always exist in a standardized format that could be collected, that offers huge value to unlocking the power of the genome, but is the challenges of integrating that are not always fully recognized. And I go on to say that when we looked at implementing that in the program, things like making sure that we understood the kind of data points we need to collect. In the case of rare disease, we're collecting whole new data models that hadn't existed previously. That in itself was hugely valuable. We had industry participants at the table that says, if you do nothing more than create those data models that allows us to collect robust phenotypes around those rare disorders, that's incredibly valuable. Never mind if you can unlock the power of the genome in the future. So I think we shouldn't forget what might appear to be the simple stuff and make sure that we recognize the value of integrating that into this holistic approach too.
Okay, so very wise words there, because actually that was the major hurdle, was just collecting data. Okay, thank you very much, both of you. We're going to move on to our panel now. Thank you.